Hey folks, it's Jim. Been gone for quite a while testing new gear and had a couple of tragedies take place. A couple of friends died, and one was in a tragic motorcycle accident. Really affected a lot of us pretty hard. But anyway, also getting ready for winter in Maine is a big project. Still had to harvest all my pumpkins, things of that nature. But I just wanted to share these are isolation masks that I picked up from my government surplus sale here in my local state. These are isolation masks. Maybe you can read that up there. Isolation enteric precaution mask, yellow. If you notice, those are the biosuits they're talking about for viruses, is yellow this year. Happy to get 500 of those masks for $2.50 because my state switched to a different brand. So they dumped a whole pallet of these isolation masks. Fantastic buy. Basically a half a cent a piece. Got 500 of them for $2.50. And those will come in handy too for any project that involved dust or whatever, whether I'm cutting rock or steel or working with pressure treated woods or, anything that creates a lot of dust. I'll use those masks throughout my life. So it's not wasted either, but it's also a good way to prep. The other thing is, if there's any cases, I called 6 friends, they went down and bought them as well. And I didn't want to be a pig and buy more than I needed personally since I just got one case. But I thought about it, and since there's some cases left, I called the people who run it, and the sale's only once a month. I'm going back down and buying another case because it'll be an excellent tradable item. I don't know if you noticed, but when Ebola broke out, all of these items sold out quickly on Amazon and other sites, public sites. And then the prices started going up, so on and so forth. But now they're coming back down, and the availability is out there again. People realize that Ebola just isn't the disease that's going to spread that a lot of people thought it was. And I've been to Africa, and I know a little bit about Ebola, and I kind of knew that we would get this under control. One, patient zero wasn't here in the United States. Had patient zero been in the United States, it would have been a completely different scenario, and I think you can see that. Here in the United States, we had some warning. They knew the questions to ask. Even the hospital where this started here in America, the Dallas hospital, they had already had a meeting on Ebola and to be prepared for it, as most hospitals had. So, but even being prepared, you can see what happened. It shows the ineptitude of our current system, okay? And there is no possible way they can train 5,000 hospitals worth of worker to handle one of these viruses if it gets out of control. It's just not going to happen. So I hope you know and understand that. That's why I prepare for the plague scenario so much, the plague virus scenario, so on. Because they can't train it and they know it. They absolutely know they cannot train these people. You can give people all the gear, but if you don't know how to put it on in the exact right order and take it off in the exact right order, this gear is no good to you. It really is not. Because you'll wind up contaminating yourself. So please know that if you have the isolation gear, as I do, with the gloves, the masks, and the suits, with the hoodies and everything, the disposable suits, and the booties, the whole bit, that's what I have for my enteric precaution gear. But I also know how to put it on and take it off. I've been in these plague infested and Ebola areas before, so I know how to put on and take off this gear. People who have not practiced putting on and taking off this gear or don't take it seriously, as we can see, can contaminate themselves, as a couple of hospital workers did. Even with the proper gear, they got contaminated. Okay, so know that. Watch a video on it. Absolutely know how to do it. It's for your own good. Remember, having the gear and not knowing how to use it is a big mistake. So anytime we have gear, let's make sure we know how to use it. But anyway, I'm not too concerned about Ebola because of the way it spreads. And also, we have a different lifestyle, environment here in America. We're not as communal as it is in Africa, where they wash clothes together, they cook together, they do a lot of communal type activities together. So Africa is a really uh, a bad place for a virus like Ebola. It spreads pretty rapidly. But again, containable. Ebola's been breaking out in Africa for quite some time, and this is a big one that just got out of control. Okay, now the scenario that I worry about is a disease with the punch of Ebola, coupled with the spreadability of something like Entro 63, which, if you've heard about that, it only took 2 months from it going to from the Southwest all the way to Maine. In 45 days, we had a couple cases here in Maine that fast. So that's the disease I'm looking for. Something with the punch and the effectiveness of Ebola, coupled with the spreadability of Entro 63 or the flu, for instance. That will be the devastating disease to look for. Not saying that Ebola or something like it can't get out of control, but the likelihood is not that great. Why? Because they're training your law enforcement and military and others to contain populations, if you haven't noticed. That's why a lot of people talk to me about, well, that people are just going to migrate up and eat all your food. Well, you know, when you do some intelligence gathering and study a little bit about what's going on in your country, we begin to understand that people just won't be traveling when a disease breaks out. They're going to control it. They're going to stop interstate migration. They will stop it all. They will surround wherever it's going to be, and they will stop the migrations. So anyway, just be aware of that as well. A lot of the people out there who are pretty big in the prepping world are talking about it. Get to your locations now. They're actually very concerned, not about Ebola, but they just have a gut feeling something else is going down. And I might add to that, we are in the cycle of the 4 blood moons. So something always goes down in the 4 blood moon cycle when it happens with mankind. So this is in many philosophies. Look this up for yourself. But isn't it ironic that we're having this economic war going on with Russia and around the world, and different attitudes and outlooks there from governments, not all being on the same page. They're dropping oil prices now to put pressure on Russia, Venezuela, and others that won't bend and bow to their will, you know what I mean, of the world leaders and so forth. But you know, with all this stuff going down at the same time, it kind of makes me think, hey, maybe there's a potential here for that. You know, and imagine if patient 0 were here again. Our hospitals couldn't deal with that. If all of a sudden it wasn't a disease like this that's breaking out in Africa, but patient 0 start in the United States, think about that. Whole different scenario going down. Right, so let's be grateful that Ebola, at least we know where patient 0 is coming from, and we'll keep this thing under control, I'm pretty sure. But it just goes to show the viruses are getting out of control, as my videos talk about. And it's getting worse, and worse, and worse. And eventually something's going to break loose with the punch of Ebola and the spreadability of Entro, or the flu. And look out when that happens. There is no possible way they can control it. Even a disease like Ebola, they're spreading in hospitals themselves. So think about it. And your CDC, your government knows they cannot possibly train 5,000 hospitals and 50 to 100,000 clinics of personnel. It can't be done. And remember how your military and police is being trained. It's being trained to contain you, not evacuate you, contain you. Okay? So know that, be aware of that, and prepare accordingly. But yeah, I'm not too concerned about Ebola. For all those asking, no, I'm not too concerned about Ebola. Yes, it's a bad disease. Yes, it could get out of control. The likelihood, however, is not that great, so I'm not too concerned. I am concerned about something else, though, breaking loose, and we'll know what that is because it's going to go fast and furious. And even if something does go slow, we'll have plenty of warning time. But anyway, know how to don and take off your gear. Again, had a couple of friends pass away. Getting prepared in Maine for fall is a lot of work. And I've had other things. I've tested my gear. I've been into the field a few times and had some great experiences, by the way, with that. We've got a huge bear population taken off here in Maine. So that's been pretty interesting about some of the areas that we frequent. They're getting overrun now. Kind of interesting. Just a lot of neat things going on. But anyway, I think we should all take this Ebola as a shot across the bow, a warning to all of us. There is no way they can handle the disease. I think you're aware of that now. Ebola was we were warned about. They have been trained on it, and they still got a few cases out. Okay, didn't handle it well. Imagine if patient 0 with a new virus starts here. Think about it. That's why I am preparing the way I'm preparing. I just have a gut feeling that it's coming. Anyway, experience, strength, and hope. Use your prepper sense like Jimmy Rant says. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Again, Look at your government sales, surplus sales, medical waste, medical sales, surplus sales, things of that nature to get all your gear. You don't have to spend a ton of money. Be safe, be sane. Prepping's a one day at a time thing. Anyway, Jim out. And it's good to be with you all again. And thanks to everybody who's been reporting the news. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thanks for everybody who's been watching the videos. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And anyways, until next time, Jim out.